Hey guys, Eagle Trading checking back in. It is 6:15 p.m. on June 10th, 2020. Haven't done a video for a little while here. Been working strictly on my trading. Haven't felt so fantastic either. It's not COVID, but other weird stuff that I got going on. But let's get to it. So, my opinions on the market here. Today was a really interesting day. And this is the channels I've been using on the market. I think we spent some time on these, and I think they're probably about as accurate as anybody's got on the market right now. And I've kind of been using them for guidance, and they've worked pretty good so far. And I'll show you exactly what we're looking at right now in the market and what I think is going to happen. I took out obviously the bottom candle that we had, and I created a channel here that I think's been pretty good so far. When we got to this point right here and we started to get a lot of noise with people saying that we had broken the head and shoulders pattern in this area right here, because they were using somewhat of a channel like this, or they were using just a straight up channel. So multiple times they were saying that from the bottom here we had a narrowing rising channel right in here, and that we broke, and that this right here was a sell. So not only were they wrong there, but they also had another channel along here, I guess, somewhat similar to mine. And then they said we broke here as well. But if you remember back in some of our prior videos, I said the market's probably just going to go sideways before powering up. So what I did was I kind of looked at the channels back then, this is weeks ago, and thought this was the actual channel of the market. And you can see how accurate this is later on when you see that we closed right on it. We have a tail. This is the first big pullback tail, so that's an important candle. We go back up and hit the channel, and we pull back again from this move here where we should have rolled over. And we pop back up, we pull back again, we close right on the channel, right? We go back up to the channel, we put a wick through it, close right on it again, pull back, go back up. They sell a little bit ahead of the channel because they want to break it down. We open up right on the channel, we put a tail through it, then we fire back up, and we back test my channel line 2 times, which I said was very bullish to be able to do that, not get rejection, and then head back down this way. It's a really bullish move right there. And then what do? We gap, and then we hit 1, 2, 3, 4 times on the upper channel. 3 were literally right on the money. 1 we just fell a little bit short and closed back down. And then what do? We check it out. We back test the lower part of the channel. Now we break out, and we break above the top of what was the old sideways momentum channel. And then you see the close right on it, and then a tail on it, and then we're off to the races. So there's also another channel within this channel. It's more of a momentum channel. And this candle is super important right here. This is a huge candle for many reasons, but the momentum channel kind of runs somewhere along like this in here. And we broke above it on Friday on pretty big volume, right? The biggest buying volume we've had in a while, like weeks. All the way from, it's more volume than we even saw back in April 17th. It's the highest volume we've had on a buy volume side since April 9th. So that big volume was followed by 3 successive days of increasing volume and an inability to break this channel top. So to me, the market's going through distribution. I'm also looking at the McClellan oscillator, which we've used like clockwork to show us what the market's doing. And once we hit this top channel and pulled back, we got back up, hit this channel, back tested it, and if we said we didn't get back below the red line, we could have an explosion to the upside where all the indices are moving in conjunction with each other. And you could see things like the airlines, the financials, things like Boeing. Everything was kind of moving in synchrony. And that's when we had that big volume push on Friday. But now we've broken that, and we've broken this little inside momentum line that I'm talking about on the broader averages for the New York Stock Exchange. So we've lost a little momentum on the broader averages as far as your average stock. So to me, this is distribution on the top side. We've also hit a high on the daily, on the RSI, pretty high. The weekly's still healthy. We got plenty of room left, but it looks to me like we're just touching this momentum trend line right here. on this little wedge in here. If we don't bounce tomorrow, I think we're going to go back down and test this lower area, which depending on the time frame should get us right around 313, 314. But it's a tough call. The Qs are super strong. The things I'm worried about are when we look at the XLF, the financials, and I'm going to come back to SPY in a minute. We look at the financials and we see, can we hold this channel on the financials as well? And let me kind of spread this out a little bit and show you guys. And like I said, the financials haven't been leading the market, right? They've been weak as hell until recently. But in this recent move, was it just a gravitation towards, things that haven't run yet? Or was it true follow through buying? And it's hard to say, but now we're inside this little channel here, and a lot of these things look like this right here. Where if we look at the closes, right, about like that, and we're touching that channel, right? And I'm not saying everything has to go up constantly every day, but that's a pretty heavy volume candle bar and a big ranging bar, right? We'd like to see more of a sideways consolidation, holding up above the 25.25, but we broke below the 25.25. So that's a little bit of a concern, the financials. Like I said, they're not leading the market, but when you still have a little bit of gap room on the MACD, and then you're failing a little bit of a momentum trend line, I guess you'd say, on the RSI, it tells you that the things that are only strong right now are really the Qs. But that's important that we bounce tomorrow on the markets, or else we're going to go lower for sure, and a little bit lower than probably what most people expect in the short run. The Q is super strong. The positives are when you still see things like Zoom, a huge day today, breaking out back above, and let's get rid of this drawing say here, back above the momentum trend line here on Zoom, a little bit of a bear or a bullish wedge, and then we pop out of the bullish wedge, going ready to attack all-time highs again, or real close to it on good volume. So a lot of these names are still holding up pretty strong. Same thing with Norwegian Cruise Lines, though. I kind of want to see some of these things hold. If this is a true market recovery with some broad buying. And it was nice to see, once again, here's your channel on Norwegian. Up in the momentum channel, breakout. Is it a little disappointing that you don't get follow through? I guess, but that's a hell of a move from the bottom. I mean, it needs to digest it, right? But it's nice to see it bounce off the lower trend line intraday. Spot on too, you can see that. Look at that, right on there. I'm just using these bar candles because they give a little bit of clarity. It's not what I use for trading. I use Heikin-Ashi and what else do we use? We use just regular candles for trading. Heikin-Ashi and Candle Trend is what we use for trading. There's also a new theme going on that we saw in IMRN. I mean, I've never seen moves like this before in stocks. Unbelievable, right? 10 and 15 fold moves. And I'll do the same thing with these charts to kind of clear it up a little bit. 10 and 15 fold moves from baseline. So you have a stock here that's $1.92, and it's moving up 10 times. It's basically $2 moving up 10 to 15 times. It's where it was trading at prior from baseline. And then what are they doing? They're just drifting lower and breaking down and selling off. So that was the crazy stock from yesterday. Today's crazy stock was, what was it, JFIN? But I forget the name of it. Let me see if I can look it up on mine, because I traded a little bit today. Recent JFIN, that is it. Complete insanity, right? Utter and complete insanity. Somebody's got to be front running these or something. I don't know what it is, but it's just all day traders, and it's a musical chairs game. Let me see if I can remove this, because this is for intraday trading. Actually, I'll show you the intraday too. But they're finding stocks that are low float. You can tell I was trading this today. And look at this wedge. This thing was $2 and change in pre-market. $2.99 in pre-market. And literally gaps at the open to 17. Pulls back. And then forms this little wedge, right? And then it pops the wedge. And then it creates another channel. You can kind of see this other channel that it created in here. As we kind of zoom in a little bit, right? You can see this other channel that it created if we change the color on here. This is just algorithmic trading, and tons and tons and tons of day traders and hedge guys that are just, I don't know, somebody's front running these stocks, or they're looking in, trying to find out what the flavor of the day is, and just running the holidays. I'm not going to change that, but you get the idea. The channel, then it pops above the channel, it goes back and back tests the channel. Literally, these are 1 minute candles. $29 down to $20, and then back up to $29, all in a matter of 3 minutes, right? I mean, these things are moving fast, and I got to be honest with you guys, this isn't my type of market, and I haven't had such great days. I mean, the market's been strong, but I do better in like a down market. So when I see things like this, these moves, and I'm trying to kind of adjust, and I've been trading for a long time, but I'm trying to adjust to momentum trading, you know, where I have to kind of set my scalps and position size and kind of change things up a little bit. It's a little bit difficult for me. I had a few times where I had some big lots in here, 1,000 shares with trailing stops, and they weren't triggering. So I had to call up TD, and they have some issues with their accounts. I'm not going to go off the subject here, off topic, but I can't even tell you. Like one time I was up in the middle of the night and watched my account go like negative $3,000 and up to $85,000. I mean, something's wrong. I emailed them. I've yet to hear a response from them. Talked to their trading desk. They don't know what's going on. And I've heard a few other people on Reddit talk about it. They got some problems with their accounts. So I kind of lost confidence, and I'm trying to play momentum game. But when you're going big share size here, you're moving 9 points in 2 minutes, and you're trading 1,000 shares. You need to make sure your stops are working. So it's kind of whacked me today. I took a loss on one of these. They're trying to break the trade, but I know I'm going to eat some of it. So it's a little bit hard of a market for me to adjust to. You know, I think my technicals are spot on, but these aren't. How do you do technicals on this other than channel lines? This is madness. Absolute madness. So like I said, same thing with Norwegian Cruise Lines, Boeing, same thing. I mean, Boeing on the 1 year. I expect some consolidation, right? I get it. But these moves are a little bit crazier than I expected. Still kind of holding this little curling pattern here around the 197 area. So you got like a double bottom there. But you kind of want to see more energy out there. So if we don't get some energy out there tomorrow, this probably pulls back down and fills that gap. And most times gaps do get filled. So let me look at this, and then I'm going to go onto the NASDAQ. And then I'm going to look at a couple interesting things that I saw today. And couldn't get to the 200 Expo, and then broke down below what I consider was an important momentum line, 213.74. That's why my trigger on there. And we broke that line. Oh, actually, intraday we couldn't get above it. So that's when I was trying to short stuff. Couldn't get up above that 213.74. Pre-market we did, but then we failed. I was going to try to short some up there, but it wouldn't give me the wiggle room that I wanted. So interesting things on that too as well. QQQ, strong as an ox. Let's look at the 1 year daily. Same thing, and I'll show you what I'm looking at here too on the Qs. And Qs are unique here because everybody's gravitating towards the things that they think are immune from this. You know, think about the economy in general. What percentage of public stocks, you know, Main Street versus Wall Street, right? What percentage of the people that are unemployed actually have a big impact on the economy? Number one. Also, what percentage of the companies that are affected by what's happening here are making up a percentage of the S&P 500 and the QQQ? Probably not a huge percentage. So although things don't look like we've been talking about for a while, great for Main Street, Wall Street has this liquidity bubble that it's created, and there's really no stopping this in the short term unless that changes, right? But we are at some points now where the charting and the psychology say we need to rest here. So here's our Qs chart. Same thing. And we'll look at this on a Heikin-Ashi, and I'll show you. This tends to give 10 days on Heikin-Ashi before you have a pullback. And the biggest stretch that we saw was this stretch in here back in the beginning of April. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 green Heikin-Ashi candle bars. And now we're on 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 Heikin-Ashi candle bars. So this channel that I created here has been pretty accurate, and the lower momentum channel has been spot on, which tells me once again, algorithmic computerized trading. A little scary when you think about it, right? But they know the market that we're in right now with this flush of liquidity, and they're playing the game, and they're going to run this thing as high as they can before something changes. They got to pass on the earnings with the COVID. They're going to just keep chugging it along. But that being said, once again, big volume high above the momentum line, right? We've seen some opens above it, closed right on it here. We attacked it here. We didn't get back up, but now we have this narrow range moving to the upside. And we just failed. And I'm not going to say failed, because a lot of guys are like, did the NASDAQ just fail? But that's a big volume move right there, right? That's a big volume move there, which means a little bit of distribution is still going on in the NASDAQ. Right at this high, most likely. We had a lot of sellers and buyers kind of engaging at the same time. Probably to do with the Fed. A lot of times on Fed days, you can see a directional change in the market, especially when people say, okay, is that as good as it gets in the short term, right? The Fed comes out and saying they're going to continue to be accommodative. We've had a hell of a run. We're hitting a channel. I mean, everything kind of lines up, right, for a short-term top here. So I did take some weird positions today. And we'll see if I put my money where my mouth is. I took a big position in SQQQ on the pullback. I had bought TVIX ahead of time, which oddly enough, TVIX has been a great trade. TVIX doesn't want to go at this, doesn't believe this move. Now, like we've always talked about, could it be hedging and then it comes off? That was my concern. So when I was buying TVIX a few days ago at the 106 area, and I'll show you where I was buying it, kind of this wedge area in here. Actually, it was the day before. 106s. This is where we were buying some TVIX. 106, and it was nice to see this wedge break to the upside. We were selling a little bit into it and then just buying it back on weakness. We just keep using this 106 as this 105 area as a stop loss, I guess you'd say. Not that we want to sell into weakness anyway. We like to sell into strength on TVIX. ASS, always sell strength. But when you see this grinding higher and refusing to go down as the market strengthens, it's very interesting. So is it a hedge or is it a little bit of a warning? Now, we knew coming into today when we had those positions that the market would be hedged going into it and they'd give it up. Okay? So I'm smart. I sold my TVIX and bought it back. And you almost have a little channel double top there, right? These are little channels that work out stupendously. There's your bottom channel. You couldn't retest it there and you fail. I did not get the bottom of TVIX. I did get 116s in here. And did not sell this move. Did not get shaken out. And now I'm still holding some. So we'll see what tomorrow brings. It could be a market top in here short term. The market's still very bullish, but when I see volume like we've seen and I see a Fed announcement and how much better news can you get? I'm also a little bit concerned about, a little bit disenchanted with the level of speculation that I see in the market. And I'm trying to take advantage of it, but from a macro perspective, it's a little bit concerning when you see some of these crazy moves we've had. TD Ameritrade sucks because I tried to short the hell out of this at the open lake. I mean, it was like a no-brainer, right? Of course, their equipment sales are going to be good with COVID, but I figured a lot of people had already factored that in. I actually had a stop in there for 24.21. Had a whole thing set up, ready to go in my head. I got to put the order in. HTB. No dice. This would have been a nice trade because this is nothing but a bouncing ball all the way down. All the way down. 1,000 shares would have been sporty at 23.87. Probably would have covered into the close. Or maybe somewhere along here when you see these big, huge drops. In any case, guys, tough call in the market here, but I don't really mince words, so I think the market's topped out short term. I should have said I don't think it has. That way I can hedge my short position, but when I see moves like we saw today, it feels like we kind of had. And you can kind of look at the Qs as like a stock, right? Sometimes stocks blow off when they break out. So you have a big move to the downside in any stock. And we can use, let's use IMRN as an example. Intraday the other day. And I'm not trying to say that the market can be analogous to IMRN. But usually what you have in a very speculative stock, and we can kind of say the market's somewhat speculative here, right? So usually when you have something that's speculative like this is IMRN running in these channels, when you have a top like this and you start to push up against it, and that is a huge move top, right? Big move. The following move that breaks out just above its all-time highs, with it sucking everybody in, saying, oh, we're going to go higher, is usually the top. So when you have a huge move and you make a top and you pull back and then you get back up there again, that move should be sold. More often than not, that's the final capitulation, either the short squeeze, final blow off, or I can't watch this go higher anymore without being in it, blow off, whatever you want to call it. But that is usually the big deal. And you can see a pretty good volume size there. This is what it looked like a volume top, believe it or not, right here. That's huge volume. But that was more of a breakout pivot volume to start this whole monster moving to the upside. Incredible moves on some of these things we've seen. And I'm trying to adjust. My channels help me. But when you're going big share size and the stops aren't working so good. I've had 2 issues actually. I had an issue yesterday as well, so we'll adjust. But as far as the market's concerned, guys, I think we are getting some distribution in here. And if we haven't hit the top and we push higher, this market's going to be very, very vulnerable for a pullback. Well, that's interesting. In any case, Qs are getting all the love. Maybe they get more rotation. But some of the stuff that I see as far as the McClellan oscillator, the financials, the speculation, the Fed, everything kind of works me into thinking the 10-day move on Hakanashi on Qs, that we've kind of hit like a little bit of a market top here, and any stretch beyond this is going to be very vulnerable for a pullback.